Welcome to the Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. I'm so happy you found us. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on I-Fiber1 News Radio, KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Hey, good morning to you. It's the 10th day of November, and Spencer, good morning. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. It's a heat wave compared to yesterday morning. Much warmer.
It really is. It was cold yesterday, and it was a strange cold as it just got real gray, and there was not a lot of air movement out there.
No.
It just seemed brisk.
It was painful going outside yesterday. I have to switch from my windbreaker to my thicker jacket. I just have to.
Oh, I can't believe you haven't yet. I'm wearing 4 layers right now. Coming up on the show this half hour, Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury. It's also Young Readers Day, so we'll have some good conversations about that. And then after the newscast at the bottom of the hour, talk about teeth health during COVID. I went to the dentist yesterday, so I got a story for you on that. Also, another fun day, Forget-Me-Not Day. So we'll talk about those things, also exploring the Northwest, world headlines, and more. So the cold days yesterday, but that's not what's going on today, is it?
No, we're already about 15 degrees warmer this morning than we were yesterday at the beginning of the show. Light rain early today, remaining cloudy with showers in the afternoon, and a high of 48.
Mason County Public Health notified of 15 additional Mason County residents that tested positive for COVID-19. This brings the total to 622 cases in Mason County positive since the start of coronavirus. There are 62 active cases currently happening. Nobody is hospitalized in or out of Mason County. The total test performed at last report here is just under 16,000. And let's see here. In the last 14 days, we've had 59 cases, and that is a rate of 91 out of 100,000. These numbers are getting up higher and rapidly rising. But we have Thanksgiving right around the corner, and a lot of folks are trying to understand how to plan for that. Health experts have some stuff to share, don't they?
Yes. U.S. health officials say small household gatherings have contributed to the rise in COVID-19 cases, but there's no need to cancel the holidays, of course, and spending time with loved ones is important for health, too. The coronavirus spreads more easily when people are crowded together inside, so experts encourage new outdoor traditions such as hiking as a family. That's a good idea if the weather permits. Guest lists for indoor feasts should be small enough so people can sit 6 feet apart while unmasked.
And actually, that is interesting. They mentioned that hiking because there are 2 final free days for state parks for the year. One's tomorrow for Veterans Day, and the next one is on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. So a great opportunity for folks there to hike. We've been bringing you these stories, so just I like to continue to update if new information happens, especially on stories that kind of are a trend line on the show. Wildlife advocates and environmental groups are challenging the removal of federal protections for gray wolves across most of the U.S. 2 coalitions of groups have filed notice that they plan to sue the U.S. Interior Department in federal court unless protections are restored. Trump administration last week ended longstanding federal safeguards for gray wolves in the lower 48. That puts states and tribes in charge of overseeing the predators and opens the door to more hunting. Gray wolves have recovered from near extinction in parts of the country, but remain absent from much of their historical range. Over in Colorado, officials plan to reintroduce wolves in coming years, and we often report on struggles that farm owners, livestock owners have in relationship to gray wolves. So we'll see how that continues here over the next year or so.
Tribal leaders in northern Washington state have announced an effort to determine the feasibility and cost for the removal of a dam that has not generated electricity since 1958. The Seattle Times reports that the Enlow Dam, built 100 years ago, still blocks fish from reaching the Similkameen River and is of no use to the Confederated Tribes of the Colville Reservation. The tribe wants to bring salmon back to the river. Officials say the Okanagan Public Utility District would also benefit from the dam's removal because it does not generate electricity, provides no irrigation or flood control, and has backed up contaminated sediment.
In sports news, Seattle Mariners center fielder Kyle Lewis, unanimous winner of the AL Rookie of the Year award in the shortened pandemic season. 262, 11 homers, and 28 RBIs in just 58 games. Good for him. Seahawks stumbled to the midway point of the regular season after the loss to Buffalo. 44-34 was the score of that game this weekend. Seattle sits atop the NFC West at 6-2, but they're going to have to figure some things out if they want a shot at the big game. We'll find out what happens this weekend as the Hawks play the LA Rams with a pregame at 11 and a kick at 1:25. The Seahawks are presented by Shelton Health and Rehab, Riviera's Shellfish, South Sound Appliance, Dogtown Grooming, Neal's Pharmacy, and the Shelton Athletic Club. Again, this half hour, we talk with Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury. Also, it's Young Readers Day. Then coming up in the second half of the hour, talk a little bit about teeth health during COVID, Forget-Me-Not Day, and the Old Farmer's Almanac. It's all coming up here this Tuesday morning. Good morning to you on Daybreak.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Well, good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes on the Daybreak Show. It's time for the Sheriff's Sit Down, presented by our great friends at Our Community Credit Union, where holiday quick bucks are back, just like pumpkin spice, eggnog, and peppermint. It's everything you love about the holidays at Our Community Credit Union. Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury, how you doing, sir?
Good morning.
Cold.
It's beautiful this morning.
Well, it's beautiful for sure.
Oh, I love it.
It is cold out there, and it seems to have turned pretty quick. So I thought today we'd talk a little bit about winter driving conditions. I know it can be rough around some of the roads, the curves we have here in Mason County. We talk often about this about every year. So what are some of the things that folks need to think about? Because, you know, they may be waking up going, gosh, just a few days ago it wasn't like this.
Well, like this morning, and I'm not sure about all the outer lying roads. We haven't been super cold for too many days in a row. But you have shadowed areas too. It looks good leaving home because the road's, pretty much bare. And you come into some of our areas that have trees and shadows over them, and you come into that area, and then you've got a road that way that's been frozen because it still had moisture on it, and it's still frozen. And the shadows are another thing. Where the sun's going down in the evenings, late afternoon now, driving into that. And the weather conditions are changing. You know, Chief Sperling was talking. We just talked a couple weeks ago about this. You know, it's slowing down. All over the state. We've seen a lot of traffic collisions and things, and in Mason County as well. It's just driving too fast, and as you get down to these, the hours of light have changed.
Yeah.
So you're coming home and it's darker. You know, being aware of that, and now we'll switch probably till tomorrow or this afternoon back to rain, and then your visibility goes away in the rainy conditions, and it's all those things that are really important. The other one that I've seen advertised a lot this year of course, it helps them out, the tire companies, but checking the pressure on your tires. They do drop significantly in the cold weather. And some people, the modern cars, sometimes will light up and they will tell you there's something, your car tires, they've probably all gone down about the same usually, but they drop below what the manufacturer said. So having your tires checked for pressure at these cold temperatures, it throws your handling and braking. It's much, much different on your car with tire pressure. Changes everything.
How much drive training do you guys in the Sheriff's Office have to do every year?
Well, we go up the drive course every year and we do state qualifications.
Yeah.
And so you're on the course up there and you have to pass the minimum qualifications. We are very fortunate in Mason County because in most instances we're able to use the Washington State Patrol drive course that certifies people on that. A lot of agencies don't have that.
I mean, you guys, you have to do this every year, whereas I'm just thinking about the general citizen. No. You don't ever have to really
we do night driving
your skills.
We do night driving about every other year when you're on the drive course at night. And then, have you ever been on the drive course? Have you ridden through there?
I've been on it once.
Sometime you get a chance, if we're on training or if you get a chance to go up to State Patrol Academy and ride through with one of their instructors. All of our people have gone through the same training, instructor training. And then you get out there and we do the same thing that many people do. And we teach it at the Kids Academy too, and we do it in our summertime. We teach low-speed driving. And we teach parallel parking on both sides of the road. You have to be able to parallel park from your right-hand side, but you have to be able to pull up to a left-hand side and back into a parking zone too. You teach low-speed braking and cornering and backing. You've got to back through the course the same way. There's half of it you have to go in reverse through it without hitting anything, all the cones.
It'd be hard
and it's on a certain amount of time. And you make an error, you go again. You have to have 2 successful passes under time on both the high-speed and the low-speed course.
And it seems to me at some level, this type of recertification for a average driver, I mean, it seems like you should have some sort of re-up on skills, check your reaction times.
It really would be nice. It really would be nice. I know another thing that people probably don't care for as much, but you go to many of the European countries, and every year your vehicle has to be certified. They have to have first aid kits in them. They check your tires, they check your brakes. If it's not up to what it should be, they decertify, they pull a car off, and you have to have it ready to go again. I'm not talking about just emissions. I'm talking about vehicles with your tires, brakes, windshield, all those kind of things to be checked, and it makes a huge difference. I think one of the things that I think about all the time, because of racing motorcycles the same way, the tire pressure can make a huge difference on the handling of a vehicle. And you've got to watch, because some more of the modern vehicles will have different tire pressure settings for the front tires as opposed to the back tires, depending on what kind of vehicle it is. And if you stay with those, you're going to be fine. But you've really got to be mindful of that, because you're braking and handling with the anti-lock brakes. Something else that over the years we switched to anti-lock brakes, and it changed a lot on the drive course, how we drive.
What are a couple places in Mason County that year after year are issues for travelers? We talk about when the rain comes, heading up North 101 past the Little Creek Casino. There's some ruts in the road there. There's always going to be some water there. Coming out maybe by the Skoke River towards Hunters or something, that back road there.
Well, look at Purdy Canyon going down the hill. You're up on the top of the hill going northbound on 101, and you drop into Purdy Canyon, and look at the temperature change and the shade in there, and how that can get slick in there in Purdy Canyon coming down there, especially if we drop way down in the cold weather.
Yeah.
Anywhere you have moisture next to the road, it can need to be fog. And, speed on 101, that's the speeding area.
One thing we don't really do as much focus as we probably should do is the folks who live up in the Cushman communities. I mean, the elevation there, they get
tremendous change.
They know when the snow's coming well before folks in downtown.
That was one of the things we talked about years ago, many years ago when I first started here, and then when I came back, was the type of vehicles we're driving. We're one of the few places you can literally go from sea level at the canal to the Olympic Mountains right up through Cushman in a number of minutes, and be into the snow down below, total rain, and just right up Cushman Road, and it changes quickly because the elevation changes. It's a really big thing. We have really varied driving conditions here, and ours changes so much.
Yeah.
It goes from the warmer, rainy weather right back down to the freezing cold overnight, or that moisture can be left on the roadway and the temperature drops. I think all those things are really important. I'm not saying we're perfect drivers, but when you do have those courses and you learn how the vehicle handles, and you learn about why a vehicle handles the way it does, and these new systems on the cars is another thing that a lot of people aren't familiar with. There's systems on some of the new cars, they're traction control systems, and there's systems, anti-roll devices on cars now, and depending on what happens to that vehicle while it's in motion, some of those sensors pick up and will help guide you on those, but can you do it without those, with those off? Is really important as well.
It's amazing just to think about that too. Back to the training you guys get annually. Folks will buy these new cars and they are rated to do some pretty amazing things.
Yes.
But us as kind of general daily drivers have, one, perhaps no idea how to even do that. And then when it comes to you guys who come in and do those things, you can make those cars do some pretty impressive things.
If you do the handling dynamics and the weighting in the vehicle and the braking on the vehicle at the correct times in turns and things like that, they'll do a lot more than what you would want to do with them. I can't imagine being. I've got to ride in a NASCAR car down in years ago when I was at the FBI Academy. We went down and got to ride on a track doing those high speeds. And the reaction time of those guys that drive those things, you're watching on TV, it doesn't look like they're going very fast. They're all going the same speed. You get in one of those cars and you're going by, and to look straight out the front window, it's really interesting. You can see everything just fine. If you turn and look out to your side, directly past, it's just a blur going down a side strip. And they'll roll up against those walls. I think I was doing 180 some miles an hour at one point in one of those things. But it was amazing how careful they are when you talk about air pressure and tires and everything. You go out here to the drive course and you'll see a huge difference on a car by messing around with the tire pressures on how they handle. The braking is one of the most unique things that's changed to me. When we started, we used to call threshold braking because you didn't have the anti-lock brakes. Now you come into what we call the lane changers or into the braking box, and that car shuts down so much faster than the other ones did because the computers in it, they just do a better job than we can do. But being able to push the car to the edge and see what it's going to do sure makes a difference.
Well, it's important to be safe out there as we are moving into the late fall and early winter months here. And of course, parts of Mason County get hit with all sorts of different weather conditions. The Sheriff Sit Down this week and every week is brought to you by our community credit union, where holiday quick bucks are back. So make sure you check in with them on that. Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury, thank you.
Have a good day.
You're listening to Daybreak on I-Fiber One News Radio.
And again, good morning to you as the Daybreak Show rolls on here. Spencer, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
It's National Forget-Me-Not Day, and you may think about this as some sort of Hallmark holiday. Mm-hmm. Forget-me-nots, the forget-me-nots. I think of Hallmark when I hear that.
Yeah, exactly.
But National Forget-Me-Not Day reminds Americans of the sacrifices returning soldiers have made of body, blood, and limb. Because tomorrow is Veterans Day, 11/11. It's just another reminder here. This was created back in 1921 to remind Americans of the National Forget-Me-Not Day, originally raised funds for services for returning injured soldiers.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it's kind of evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's evolved into remembering family members and friends and... Yeah, that's right. The Armistice Day became Veterans Day. You're right, the 11th of November, and kind of a nice way to remind veterans that they're not forgotten.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So this is another day, forget-me-nots for veterans. Tomorrow is another big day to focus on veterans. I also saw that it's the Marine Corps' birthday today for all those who have served in the United States Marine Corps, a very proud group of folks. November 10th, the birthday here, establishment of the Continental Marines, 1775.
Wow. What history, huh?
Talk about long-standing. The birth of the U.S. Marine Corps began as a way to augment naval forces in the Revolutionary War. The recruiting headquarters was in the Tun Tavern on Water Street in Philadelphia, considered to be the birthplace of the Marines. That's a big one. Marines, they always talk about the Marine Corps and Marines being tough, eat glass and stuff like that. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, I know a few Marines
folks.
I'll have to acknowledge today.
Yeah.
And they generally will like the acknowledgement. You can read right away when you thank a veteran. If you know someone's a veteran, you thank them. Sometimes that's all you have to say. You don't have to turn it into a big conversation or a question and answer thing. You just acknowledge them, and generally, you could tell that they're appreciative. And if they want to talk more about it, they can. But at least acknowledge them when you see them. And I look for veterans hats. I'm in Walmart and people walking around with their caps on and stuff, and they all seem to appreciate it when you acknowledge them.
Well, tomorrow is Veterans Day, and so what we can do as well is have the listener line available at 360-426-1030. Press 0, and you can leave a message and thank a vet that
Great
you know.
idea.
And if we get some of these, we'll play them on the air tomorrow. So 360-426-1030, then press 0. That gets you into the listener comment line. leave a message and thank a vet that you know, or vets in general, and we'll play that on the air tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Great idea.
More Daybreak Show is coming up here. Good morning.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFiber One News Radio.
Hey, good morning to you. Daybreak Show rolls on here on a Tuesday. And Spencer, good morning.
All right, good morning to you. How's it going today? Sorry, I was just
going well. Spencer is
take this
coming
out
to us
of my mouth
live
here.
from the dentist office here. He's getting his teeth cleaned.
I'm okay. I do it to myself during COVID just to be 100% safe.
Oh, you clean your own teeth. So today is a topic of conversation for you on teeth health. I went and got my teeth cleaned yesterday. And my hygienist is a listener and a fan of you.
Ah.
And we were just talking about kind of how, so the last time I went to the dentist was March 11th. So, 3 or 4 days before the shutdown. And they were forced to close down, and they got backlogged like 8 weeks, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But what was interesting was that when we were talking, is that she said that, it's real 50-50 on how people's teeth health are doing these days. For some folks, because of the screw up in the schedule, they may not be brushing as often because your routine is all messed up. The
Right.
alarm goes off. You get up. You go to the shower. You brush your teeth. You get dressed. You go to work. Well, now if you don't have to go to work, do you still get up at the same time? Do you still shower in the morning? And then if you don't shower, do you brush? So there's a fair amount of that going on. Just people with their schedules all messed up and
Sure.
haven't quite got it figured out yet. The other half of the group are the people now that are going to put the hygienists out of business because now they've got all the free time in the world. They floss twice a day, if not 5 times a day, because, what else are you going to do? Brushing all the time and taking the time to improve your mouth health. And that's a key to a healthy rest of your body.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Can you imagine you have people come over and they see the dental chair in the living room. They're like, what is that? Is that like your dentist chair? You're like, yeah, I've just been, I have a little extra free time brushing up on my
some
skills.
people take up baking. Some people have taken up gardening.
You're like, I've taken up hygienist
hobby dentistry. But your mouth health, it is so important. You could say it's the gateway to your body, obviously. But if you're flossing and brushing on a regular basis, it helps the whole rest of your body be healthy.
I remember that even as a young adult stumping me because it's so hard to understand until you understand the body systems. But it would be like someone telling you, like, take care of your feet because it affects your heart. I mean, you think to yourself, what do my feet have to do with my heart? And a lot of people think that too with their mouth. They don't understand how the systems are so closely connected like that.
So just an important reminder, get out there and do it. I mean, I need to be listening to this segment just as much as anybody else. I just thought it was interesting that, like a lot of other things over the pandemic, it's kind of gone into 2 categories. Those who have perhaps forgotten or sloughed off those responsibilities, and then those who have become hyper vigilant because of the extra time.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
And there's a shortage, there was a shortage of toilet paper. Luckily, there's no shortage of nitrous oxide because I love it. When I get my teeth cleaned, that's the only way I can do it and be totally calm and not be nervous.
My hygienist asks me, as soon as my mouth opens up, she goes, boy, you want any numbing? I go, nah.
Ugh.
And I know it's got to be, because every time she touches in there,
Yeah.
and then she goes, are you sure? That's how I know something's not good.
It's not going to end well. Just take the nitrous.
Are you sure you don't want any numbing agent or anything like that? I go, yeah, I can't feel anything anyways. That's fine. She goes, boy, you got a burn in your mouth. I go, I do.
Oh my
What's
God.
that from? She goes, it's your mouth. I go, oh, we had soup the other day. It was pretty hot. She goes, there you go.
Oh my God.
Ay, ay, ay. All right. Well, more Daybreak coming up. Good morning to you.
From the iFiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
And again, good morning to you. Daybreak here rolls on. Spencer, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you.
It's fascinating as Kaiser is learning to read, and every day he picks up more and more words, and we're watching shows or whatever with subtitles, and all of a sudden he'll pipe up over there and go, I'm sorry, and it'll be what's on the subtitle, and now he's reading, and that's pretty amazing. Today is Young Readers Day. In 1988, the Year of the Young Reader was initiated by the Library of Congress. This is an important thing to do, and admittedly, we need to do more of this in the household. We get him to read a book, and we try to read a little bit as well with him. What about you guys? I know your kids are all older, but do you have memories of reading together or at least sharing stories like that?
Oh, yeah. I miss that. It's one of the things I do miss. It's great to see the kids getting older and growing up and stuff and becoming their own people and adults even. But I look back I still see the kids in their PJs and in their, the boys in their bunk beds and just picking a story to read to them, either one that they wanted to hear again or a brand new book that we'd buy at the bookstore, check out at the library. And it's, I really do believe leaders are readers. I know it's kind of a cliche, but reading is so important. So I'm glad we're doing this on National Young Readers Day because it's so important to instill that love of reading for kids. And a lot of times they find it boring because they're forced to read certain things, for school, obviously, and stuff. But when they can pick the subjects and you take them to a bookstore or library and say, hey, pick out something, and they pick out a book on bumblebees or something because that's what they're interested in, it makes it even better.
I remember it's exactly what you were talking about, a series of almost James Bond-esque books. I don't remember the guy, Mac Dolan or something like that. I don't know. But regardless, it was a whole series of this guy being a super spy soldier. And I remember some of the subjects or some of the scenes in the passages in the book were pretty graphic. I talk about going behind enemy lines and yada, yada, yada. But You're right. It got me reading, and it got me interested in reading. So that's a good point. And 20 minutes a day is what they say. And again, I'm more talking to myself on this than anybody else, but it's important to have at least that much reading going on every day if you can. It's amazing what will open up to you and to your family and to your children once they have and got that skill. I was over at Sound Learning doing some work. Proud to be the president of the board at Sound Learning, a great organization that helps many folks in Mason and Thurston counties. And seeing some of the students come in, and they range in age, mostly above 16 and above. And they are working to learn how to read English as well. And seeing the struggles, but then seeing them complete some of those sentences, oh my gosh, it's powerful. It's powerful when someone's able to complete that sentence and then look up at you, make eye contact with you, and you both know that you read that right.
Absolutely. And it affects everything. I mean, look at our recent election, and everything involves reading to be successful. I mean, if you don't like reading or you never learn to read, how do you read a ballot? How do you read instructions? How do you put pieces of furniture together? I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why we need to be able to follow directions and read things everywhere we go. And the more you love reading, the easier it is. And it also helps vocabulary. People who are strong readers are also usually strong writers. And people don't realize that connection as well.
Yeah. So National Young Readers Day, and Daybreak continues. Thank you so much for listening to today's Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. Again, I'm so happy and honored you found us and chose to listen. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of some of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on iFiber One News Radio KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Thank you so much again, and talk with you next time.